Taoiseach, I want to ask you about Children's Disability Network teams. Madison Marr is 7 years old. She lives in the north side of Dublin. Maddie has an autism diagnosis. She is non-verbal and has a moderate learning disability. Maddie's assessment of need was carried out when she was just 3 years old. Since then, she has not been offered any of the necessary supports from the Children's Disability Network team. She is on a waiting list for speech and language therapy, a waiting list for occupational therapy, a waiting list for physiotherapy. She has never been offered any appointment. She has no estimated time frame on when she will be offered an appointment. She has spent half her young life on waiting lists without getting any support. She now has severe problems with her feet and is likely to require surgery because of the complete lack of early intervention. Taoiseach, as you know, timely intervention in these early years is of critical importance. Maddie's mother has lost all hope in the Children's Disability Network team. She's at her wit's end trying to get the support that her daughter urgently needs. They've been passed around and told that staff shortages are why their daughter has been left without any support. Maddie urgently needs supportive therapies and a long-term care plan. She urgently needs a further assessment to use an alternative communications device. She urgently needs to be seen by a clinical nurse specialist. Taoiseach, Maddie is not the only child being systematically failed by the state. There are thousands out there like her. Each child and family is enduring pain, trauma and almost constant anxiety. Parents who have to watch their children suffer every day are in a living hell. They know that there are therapies which could transform their children's lives, but they can't access them. And they don't know if they ever will. All of their interactions with the state agencies end in the same way: waiting lists and broken promises. Taoiseach, we know that more than 1/3 of the approved posts in Children's Disability Network teams are not filled. That means more than 700 vacant positions, with some teams experiencing staff shortages of 60 and even 70%. How can any service operate with staff vacancy rates at those levels? The government promised a new recruitment plan would finally start to address this crisis. In April, Minister Anne Rabbitte told this House that the latest recruitment drive concluded in January and there had been 495 applications. So Taoiseach, my questions are, nearly 5 months after the latest recruitment drive ended, how many of those 495 applicants have been hired? When will the Children's Disability Network teams be properly staffed and resourced? And when, Taoiseach, will Maddie get the interventions and supports that she urgently needs?
First of all, I think that Maddie is the child's name, and I think it's not acceptable that we don't have sufficient early intervention teams in place for children at an early age, because I accept the principle that early intervention makes a profound difference in a child's life and in the outcome for a child in terms of any particular need or issue that the child may have. The Cabinet agreed last week to accelerate an assessment of need waiting list initiative through the procurement of private assessment for long waiting families, with about 2,300 assessment of needs being funded and an additional allocation of about 11 million euro. And that is to specifically deal with the assessment of need issue. And there also has been, as you have said, a substantial recruitment campaign run by the HSE in respect of the CED-NT teams, and 165 new job offers have now emerged from that particular competition. And there has been an issue in respect of recruitment more generally, notwithstanding the fact that over the last 3 budgets, funding had been allocated for almost 800 whole-time equivalent posts in our CD&T teams across the country. We've also provided about 227 additional training places for health and social care professionals, and the number of training psychological posts have been increased to 45 posts per annum for the next 3 years. And we will continue to do everything we can to both deal with the assessment of need issue, and there was the recent High Court decision, and we're going to have to, and I think the Oireachtas will have to examine that in terms of getting a system in place that facilitates a meaningful but more timely assessment of need process for children. But also in addition to that then, that there would be proper multidisciplinary teams with wide geographic reach to intervene and to provide interventions on a continuous basis to children who require them. The assessment of need regional hubs have been ruled out across the country. They're operational. They're undertaking a assessment of need assessments. And Minister Abbott would have met with the 9 CHO heads of disability services monthly to monitor and discuss the progress in tackling that overall assessment of need backlog issues. And of course, disability services has a derogation in respect of recruitment and so on. There's no issue there. But in the short term, to answer your question, we have made this additional allocation last week from the Cabinet of 11 million to accelerate assessment of needs for up to 2,300, maybe close to 2,500.
Cian O'Callaghan.
Taoiseach, I wasn't asking you about assessment of needs. I was giving you the specific example of a child who was assessed, was referred to a Children's Disability Network team, and has been waiting for half her life, got no supports, none of the services or therapies that she needs, and is now in severe difficulty as a result of that. So if you could answer that question. You've said that there's 165 job offers made. That's out of 800 additional posts that you said are approved and 700 existing vacancies. 165 job offers is not going to cut it. Taoiseach, Maddie has waited half her life for supports she urgently needs. She is suffering as the result of the lack of intervention. She's now likely going to need surgery as a result. She cannot afford to wait any longer, and there are thousands of children in the same situation being referred to teams that seem not to exist and services that they're promised but fail to materialise. So when are they going to get the supports that they need, and when are these empty posts going to be filled, and when are you going to properly resource Children's Disability Network teams?
As you referenced yourself, recruitment campaign, which so far has resulted in 165 new job offers for CDNT teams. I said it to you earlier. That is so far, and the HSE are going to repeat the recruitment campaign with a view to offering more positions in this area to ultimately properly resource the CDNT teams. I also believe there needs to be a look on a human resource management perspective to make sure that people recruited into the CDNT teams have an environment which is conducive, which incentivises, and which makes for sustainable career pathways into the future. I think there has been an issue in terms of attracting the multidisciplinary teams and various social and healthcare staff into the CDNT teams, maybe in some cases because of the burden of workload and so on. And I've met with people myself and providers on this very specific issue. And so the recruitment is a key part of it, but also once we recruit, that the quality of the environment is such.
Pathways into the future.